Welcome to Peculiar Tales, the show where we dive into the stranger things in history, urban legends, ghost stories, and anything else we find, well, peculiar. I'm Dawn.
And I'm Kristy. Today's episode, we have something a little different for you. It's our first ever Legend or Tales episode, where we're going to tell you 4 stories. 3 of them are urban legends, and the other one is a true story. It's up to you, our listeners, to figure out which is fact and which is fiction.
That's right. We're going to try to keep things vague enough to make it a bit tricky. We wouldn't want to make it too easy. So let's get started.
All right, here we go. Story number 1. A notorious outlaw and his gang of bandits robbed a train in Oklahoma, making off with a meager haul of $45 and some whiskey. After the robbery, they were chased down by police, and the outlaw was shot and killed. But here's where it gets weird. After his death, his body was embalmed and effectively mummified. His corpse became a grim sideshow attraction in a traveling carnival for decades.
That's already pretty wild, but wait for it. Over time, his body changed ownership several times. Eventually, it wound up in a funhouse at an amusement park in Long Beach, California. No one knew it was a real body. In fact, it was treated like a prop until one day when some crew members were adjusting the prop and accidentally dislodged a very real arm. That's when they realized this was no prop, it was actually a mummified body.
Now that's a peculiar story for you, but hold on to that thought as we move into story number 2.
Story number 2 is a little different. At the regional census office in Halifax, the team was crunching numbers for the latest census when they noticed something very strange. There was a tiny town, Annapolis Royal, about 2 hours west, where the birth rate was double the national average. Naturally, the Census Department thought something had to be wrong, so they sent someone to check it out.
When the investigator arrived, they found that the numbers were indeed accurate. There were children everywhere. The local schools had temporary classrooms set up all over just to accommodate the students, and the hospital had expanded its maternity wing to keep up with the demand.
This was clearly a mystery, so an investigation was launched to figure out why the birth rate was so high. After some digging, they discovered something odd. The town sat on a main railway line, and twice a day around 4:30 a.m., a train would pass through, blowing its whistle. Now, the problem was that the train would cross a road just north of the town and cross back half a mile south.
And here's the kicker. The train would blow its whistle at the first crossing, waking people up. But just when they were about to fall back to sleep, the train would blow its whistle again at the second crossing, waking them up again. The locals said it was too early to get up, but not worth going back to sleep either. So they started filling their time in other ways. And well, that time filling led to a surprise spike in births in the area.
Now on to story 3. Back in 2008, there was a small grocery store off Route 57 in rural Indiana, just outside a town called Mason Ridge. The kind of place where employees knew your name, and there was always a kid bagging groceries who went to school with your niece. A man by the name Dean stopped at the store late one Thursday night, just after 10 p.m., right before close. He picked up the usual milk, bread, some cold cuts. When he got to the register, the only cashier still working was a girl, quiet, maybe 18 or 19, and the name tag said Carrie. She smiled, scanned his stuff, and then, while handing him the receipt, she leaned in a little and whispered, "Please don't go straight home." He laughed and confusedly asked if she was joking, but she just gave a small shake of her head and looked at the door. "Just stop anywhere, somewhere. Wait 10 minutes." He said she looked terrified, but tried not to show it. So he nodded, and he took his bag and he left.
Now this is where it gets weird. He didn't take her seriously, of course. He thought maybe it was a prank, but something about her expression stuck with him. So instead of driving home, he stopped at a gas station a few miles away and waited. 10 minutes later, he drove home. His front door was open, just barely. The lock was broken, not kicked in, but like someone had picked it and forced it open. The drawer was open in the kitchen, and a knife missing. Nothing was stolen, nothing touched upstairs, just signs someone had been there and left. He called the police, of course, filed a report, told them about the girl. They checked the grocery store cameras, and here's the thing. They found the footage, clear shot of him walking in, picking up his groceries, standing at the checkout. But the register he used? No one was working on it. The footage shows him, alone, talking to no one, smiling, nodding at empty air. When the store manager was asked, he said no one named Carrie worked there, not ever. Some people say he was sleep deprived. Some say he was hallucinating. But the door was broken, and someone was in his house.
Story number 4 is about a man named Ken. Ken was what most people would call ordinary. He worked tech, lived in Denver, traveled for work. But there was one thing about Ken that stood out: his obsession with backups. He had backups for everything: backup phone chargers, backup car keys, backup glasses. But the one thing that raised eyebrows, the one that made people chuckle, was the backup wallet. It was nothing fancy, just a cheap, worn out leather fold he kept tucked in his luggage or the glove box of his car. Inside was a bit of cash, an expired driver's license, and a few maxed out credit cards that still looked legit. His logic? Well, if he ever got mugged, he'd hand over the decoy and walk away intact. Most thought it was overkill and even made him seem a bit paranoid. But Ken called it insurance, and one cold night, the paranoia paid off.
It was late, past midnight, when Ken landed back home after another long work trip. He was exhausted, half sleepwalking through the terminal and into his rideshare. The driver didn't talk much, and that was fine by Ken. He sank into the back seat, eyes heavy, the hum of the road lulling him towards sleep. About 10 minutes before he got home, the car took a sudden detour. The driver mumbled something about a shortcut. Ken sat up, alert now. They were off the main road, winding through a dimly lit residential area. No traffic, no reason to be there. Then the car came to a sudden stop. Before Ken could ask why, the back door swung open. 2 men appeared like shadows. One yanked him out, and the other jammed something cold and metallic into his rib. No words, just a quiet gesture to hand over everything he had.
Heart pounding, Ken didn't argue. He moved slow, careful, reached into his coat. He felt the decoy wallet. Thank God he kept it on him after the airport. He handed it over with no sudden moves. The men snatched it, slammed the door, and vanished into the night. And just like that, it was over. Ken filed a police report, but it went nowhere. No leads, no arrests, just a statistic. And life moved on. Nearly 6 months later, on an ordinary Tuesday, something strange happened. Ken came home to find a small envelope sitting on his front step. No postage, no return address, just his name, written in shaky handwriting. He opened it. Inside was the backup wallet. Every item was exactly as he'd packed it, nothing missing. Except now there was something new. A note, torn from a notebook, written in blocky, uneven letters. Quote unquote. Didn't realize you were one step ahead, smart man. Stay safe out there. Ken never found out who sent it. Maybe it was guilt, maybe respect, maybe a warning. He keeps that note in his real wallet now. A quiet reminder to be prepared. Stay sharp, and sometimes being a little paranoid pays off. All right, so what do you think?
Well, there's story number 1, the all too real corpse.
Oh, yes. How creeped out would you be? Because I know I would be.
Oh, I'd lose it if I pulled an arm off and realized it was a real arm. Nope.
Yeah, no.
Mm-mm.
I would be freaking out because it's one
Absolutely.
thing to like, you know what I mean, to like break something. You're at work
Yeah.
and now you're working with props, right? And you're like, oh man, I got to replace this or I got to pay for this. But what happens when you realize that was a human body you broke?
Right? And the fact that you've just been touching it and manhandling it like it's just another prop would be too much for me.
There's just no amount of therapy that could pull me through that.
Nope, nope, not at all. And then we have the baby train, which, I mean,
If you fill your
that is
time.
one way to fill your time.
Could you imagine though? Like honestly, like it's like an alarm clock
Right?
to fill in your time. You're
It's
like, we better get to bed
4:30.
early. That train's a coming.
It's 4:30 in the morning. I gotta be up for 5:30. Ah, really? Am I gonna get out of bed just yet? That
That's
seems
hilarious.
crazy.
Can you imagine? And you'd never find that anywhere else, right?
No,
Like what are the odds that their town like doubles?
right? And the fact that, like, they had to extend the school and the maternity ward just to house all these little children, that's crazy.
That's interesting.
Mhm. And then you fall on Dean's story with the ghost cashier, I guess you could call her, right?
Hmm.
I mean, we've heard tons of these stories, right? Where people have been warned by things that weren't there. That's pretty creepy. Saved his life, really, if you think about it.
But then there's that moment you can believe or not believe,
Mhm.
but at some level, if you were a skeptic and you're looking at that footage with the cops and they're like, you're talking to yourself in this video, sir. Not only are you utterly like embarrassed, but you're like, no, but I was talking to somebody. Like she was
Fully
there. I
gaslit.
just I just told you. What do you mean? There's nobody
Yeah,
in, you know, you, because now you have to be a believer.
right, exactly. And the fact that his home was clearly broken into, too. It wasn't like she said this and nothing came out of it, and then he found out that nobody was on the till that night and he owed money or something like that. This was a warning she gave him, and then his house was broken into.
It makes you think about either divine timing
Mm,
or divine intervention,
right,
right? Where it's like at its best. It's like
right.
you can't be home because you could get hurt or
Hmm.
killed, right? Like so whatever the rest of his life looks like, I mean, chances are something he had to be here.
Right, exactly. And then you have our last story about Ken and his backup wallet. I mean,
Oh,
it's
careful,
kind of
Ken.
clever. It's kind of
Yeah.
clever. It's the easiest way to get rid of somebody who just wants to take your stuff, right? Like, here you go. Here it is. It's got $10 in it. Sorry.
Not so sure how I feel about like
The ID in it.
planning to give away my home address.
Yeah. The
Like
ID
that
in
that
it,
part like it's like
you feel like if you were going to use an expired ID, then hopefully it has a previous address on it, one that you're not currently living in. I probably would have avoided altogether even putting an ID in there. But if Ken is as much of a stickler as he seems to be, maybe his thought process was if somebody opens it and doesn't see ID, they're not going to believe it's your real wallet. So maybe
that's true.
that's why he put it in there.
I feel like if you're going to be the type of person where you have backups for your backups, you
Mm-hmm.
have everything locked down,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's no possible way you're going to be without any kind of information because you have done your due diligence.
Yeah.
At least if you're going to do that, maybe go find the guy who can go on the computer and make a fake one
Right.
with a fake address.
Something. Yeah. Because you
Like
really,
something that looks like it. You're not trying to pass it off for ID to go anywhere to buy anything, but it's like I don't know. I wouldn't want to give away my real address.
well, again, this being a backup, though, I'm assuming he was hoping he would never actually have to give it out, but it was there in case he needed to. Like you said, insurance, right?
Again, therapy because now is the guy coming back? Is
Right?
am I safe? Is this guy just a bad sarcastic man.
Time to move.
I know, right? Yeah,
Yeah, very much so.
that would be funny, right? Like, you've got this note. Like, it's not funny, people, but it is. Um, because then you go and you'd be like, "Well, just got notice, we gotta move.
Right? Hey, honey, time to pack your bags. Where are we going? I don't know, but not here.
Pack it up."
Pack it up. We gotta go.
No disrespect intended, Ken.
No.
Our thoughts only. All right, now you've heard our stories. It's time to decide. Which one do you think is the true story? Is it story number one, the all too real funhouse prop? Story number two, the rather unexpected baby train? Story three, the checkout girl? Or story four, the backup wallet?
We'll give you a quick second to decide which you think is fact and which is fiction.
Let's see how many of you guess correctly. If you guess story number two, the baby train, well, you'd be wrong. Story number two is an urban legend. However, if you guess story four, well, you'd still be wrong. Story four is also an urban legend. How about story three? Who guessed that one? Well, you guessed it. Story number three is also an urban legend.
That's right. That means the real story is actually story number one, the tale of Elmer McCurdy, the outlaw. McCurdy started out as a plumber, a miner, and even served in the army before he turned to a life of crime. In October of 1911, he and his gang robbed a train in Oklahoma, and after being pursued by police, McCurdy was killed.
And here's where it gets even crazier. McCurdy's body was embalmed and eventually ended up as a sideshow attraction at a traveling carnival. The body changed hands several times over the years and was eventually put on display as a prop in a funhouse at the Pike Amusement Zone in Long Beach. It wasn't until 1976, when the crew members from the $6 Million Man TV series were adjusting what they thought was a prop, that they realized it was a real mummified body.
The body was eventually identified as McCurdy, and in 1977 it was finally put to rest in Osage Hill Cemetery in Oklahoma. This strange and grim chapter of history has been covered in books, articles, and even a true crime musical called Dead Outlaw. And get this, McCurdy's body in the funhouse, it's said that it may have inspired the toy line design for Skeletor, the villain from He-Man. I'm sure we just ruined a few childhood memories with that little tidbit.
So, how good is your fact or fiction radar? Were we able to trick you with our stories, or did you see right through us? Be sure to leave us a comment and letting us know which one of these stories you thought was the true story.
And thank you for playing along with us today. And be sure to join us on our social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. And until the peculiar calls again for another tale, bye for now.